Hey guys, it's Caleb. So today I'm basically going to talk about finding out I was pregnant, telling people I was pregnant, how I reacted, etc, etc. I've been trying to make this video forever, but I've kind of just been in the motions of going through the pregnancy, so it hasn't been like the simplest video to make, but I definitely want to share my experience because that's just what I want to do. So yeah, well, I'm due August 12th. I'm 36 weeks today. I found out I was pregnant like December 5th. I actually remember that day like it was yesterday. Yeah, so I guess I'll do a backstory. So basically leading up to the pregnancy, you know, I was in a relationship, a pretty serious relationship. We were living together and everything. Things were pretty decent, like, you know, things were great. I mean, we were living together, everything like that. And then before I actually took a pregnancy test and found out I was pregnant, I kind of just had this feeling that I was pregnant. It wasn't really like I didn't have any symptoms or anything, like I wasn't throwing up or anything like that. But we had a pregnancy scare like 2 or 3 months before I actually found out I was pregnant, like actually pregnant. And from there it was just like, okay, like that time I kind of was just like, okay, this is weird, like I don't really think I'm pregnant, but something's wrong, like I'm really late. And we were kind of freaked out about that or whatever, so that kind of just like was like a red flag. But you think we would start being smarter, but we weren't. And then we so basically there was like a month before I could really even take a test, and I kind of just knew. I don't know how to explain it. It was just this feeling that I just knew that I was pregnant. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like I felt like I didn't even need to take a test to tell me that I was pregnant, because I was like 110% positive. Like it was just my soul, my body just knew. Like nothing changed. I wasn't having any symptoms, I wasn't throwing up. It was just, I knew. Except for one day I went home over Thanksgiving break, I think, and I was talking to my sister and I was just like, dude, I think I'm pregnant, like something, like I really think I'm pregnant. Like I was feeling kind of nauseous that day, and she was just like, no you're not, like it's okay, like don't think about it, like you'll be fine. So fast forward to me actually taking the pregnancy test. As I said, we had a pregnancy scare a couple months beforehand, but my cycle had been off. So I was not really sure like when my next cycle would be, because my cycle for the last couple months had been off, which was weird because my cycle was always very like on time, like it was never late or anything like that. So that month I was like, the guy, or my child's father, he was away for basketball that weekend, and I was going to wait until he got back. And he wasn't really that worried because, you know, we had that last pregnancy scare, and so I don't think he was really too concerned, like thinking that I was actually going to be pregnant this time. So he was just kind of like, okay, yeah, whatever. And so he was away for the weekend, and it was like the first day he had left, like the first night he wasn't back, but it was the day that I was supposed to get my cycle. So I like called my sister and I'm like, I'm taking a test. So I go to the store and I to get a test, and it's like right after work, and it wasn't actually till like the next morning that I was supposed to get my cycle. But I was like, I'm gonna take it tonight anyway, even though that I knew, like, you know, it might not show anything. So I took the test like as soon as I got home from work, and I saw like the faintest little blue line, and I tell you, I died. Like it wasn't even really like I died for real. It was just like, wow, I was right, I'm really pregnant. And I just kind of chuckled because I was just like, WTF. So I didn't really know what to do because, again, he was gone for the weekend and I was just at home by myself. So I like called my sister and I'm just like, dude, I'm pregnant. And she was just like, no you're not, like you haven't taken the test. And I was like, no, I'm pregnant, like there's a really faint blue line. I'm not sure if this really means that I'm pregnant or what, like I don't know what to do. And then I started freaking out and I was like, I can't tell him, like I'm just gonna have to get up and leave, and like when he comes back from like basketball or whatever this weekend, I'm going to have to, like, I'm just not gonna be here, I'm just gonna like disappear like off the face of the earth or whatever. I don't know why I was so scared to tell him. Like given that our relationship, I guess I just knew that he wasn't going to be too happy about it. And I was kind of more so scared for his reaction, just because like neither one of us really ever talked about having kids. Like we talked about our future and stuff, but like neither one of us really wanted children, I guess. Like we were both just kind of content with like having pets and, you know, just living our lives. So yeah, I was just like really scared for his reaction. So I had like 3 days until he got back, so I'm sitting there like texting my sister like the whole time. And so I took that test and I was just like, okay, this one says I'm pregnant, but I don't really believe it, so I'm gonna take the other one in the morning. So I like was tossing and turning all night, and I was up crying all night. And then I woke up at like 5 a.m. because I just couldn't take it anymore. So I took the other test, and that line was bright freaking blue. There was no question in the book at all about whether or not I was pregnant. Like it was like, girl, you're for sure pregnant. So yeah, sucks, just suck. Yeah, I just kind of felt like my life was over. Like when I tell you, I honestly just was like, I pooped myself basically when I found out. Like I don't really know how else to explain it. It was just like when you're just so scared, like it's just a really like a oh crap kind of feeling. That's how it was. Like it was just, I didn't even have any words. Like I still don't even know what to say about it because I was really just like but so yeah, I just really felt like my life was over. We had just like made these vision boards, and I felt like I just had planned out my entire life. Like I was like, all right, I have my 5-year plan, this is what's happening, this is what I'm going to do. And then I find out I'm pregnant, and I'm like, whoa, this was not anywhere in my 5-year plan at all. Like what am I supposed to do? So in the meantime of me like waiting for him to get back, I'm like still freaking out because I don't know how to tell him, and I don't know what I'm going to tell him. I'm still thinking I'm about to pack like all my stuff up and just dip out and like disappear off the face of the earth. And so I ended up calling my mom and telling her, just because I don't even know, like my sister was like, no, you can't tell her like over the phone, like that's so bad, like blah blah blah. And I was like, no, it's okay. And when I tell you, I wasn't even scared to tell my mother because I was more so scared about telling like him. Like I didn't think I was scared to tell my mom. So like for some reason I just like pick up my phone and I'm just like driving getting onto the interstate, and I'm just so nonchalantly just like, because I tend to be like, I can really be an impulsive person sometimes. So I like pick up my phone so nonchalantly, and I text my sister like, yeah, I'm calling her, goodbye. Like, so I pick up my phone nonchalantly, and when I tell you, it felt like I was not nervous at first, but when I tell you, like once the phone started ringing, my heart like sunk into my stomach, and I had the biggest, like it felt like I had butterflies all like everywhere. And then I start crying, like, and mind you, I'm on the road driving, like on the interstate, getting onto the interstate, and I'm like, why did I try to call her while I'm driving? So like right when I was about to hang up, she answers the phone, and I'm just like, she's like, hey, like what's up, what's wrong? And I was just like, how did you know? And it was just weird because like over Thanksgiving break, she just kept looking at me and was just like, are you pregnant? She asked me like 3 times when I was over like at home for Thanksgiving break, and I was just like, no, I'm not pregnant. Like, what are you talking about? But like deep down, I kind of felt like I was pregnant. So I was just like, what are you like, what, how do you know? What is going on? But I was just like, how did you know? And she was just like, how did I know what? And then my mom's kind of like one of those people, she gets like, she just started freaking out. Like she didn't know what was going on, so she started like yelling and was just like, Caleb, what are you talking about? And I was just like, she's like thinking, like, I don't know what she's thinking, but she just gets really worked up. And so she's just like freaking out. And I was just like, I'm pregnant. And she's like, what? And when I tell you, I feel like she felt every emotion under the sun within like 2 seconds. It was just like unreal. She was like crying, she was yelling at me, but I could tell she was like kind of happy. Like it was just weird. And she was just like, what do you mean you're pregnant? Like what? And I was just like, yeah. And I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to tell him. She was like, what do you mean tell him? Like he doesn't know? And I was just like, no, he's gone for the weekend. Like what am I going to do? I'm pregnant, I'm not ready for a baby. And she was just like, my baby's having a baby, all while I'm driving. This is like an extremely emotional like conversation on the phone with my mother. So yeah, so that happened, and like So I was like I think I had like a day until he came back. And so like my mom and my sister just like kind of like being really supportive at this point. Like my mother was just kind of like, you know, it's gonna be a life-changing thing. Like she was just like, you know, I'm not mad at you, but like you have to make a good decision about what's best for you or whatever, and like you and the baby, and like, you know, your child's father, because we were together at the time. So you guys have to make a smart decision. But so yeah, so they were like hyping me up, basically like giving me, like just really supporting me, because they could both tell like I was really nervous about telling like him. So when he got back, I kind of just like, he said he kind of had a feeling because I was freaking out, and I guess I was tweeting like freaking out stuff. And so he got back, and I kind of just left this like box, and I put a note into the box, and I put like the test in there, and I just wrote this like really like note like yeah, so this is what it is. So he just kind of like comes downstairs, and he's just like, I had a feeling, but what are we going to do? And when I tell you, like the whole time, like, because when he first got back, like, we hadn't seen each other, and he's just like trying to be all like in my face and like, you know, whatever. But the whole time I'm like, go upstairs, like go check, like I need you to know now. And so when he finally did, he wasn't really happy at all. Like, you know, there was definitely a lot of stress revolving around the first half of my pregnancy. There was definitely a lot of talk about, you know, other options in like regards to the baby. But I kind of felt like the moment I knew I was pregnant, like deep down, I knew that like an abortion wasn't for me, just simply because my mother always told me, like, you know, if you're woman enough to lay down to make a baby, you should be woman enough to stand up and like take care of the baby. And I also just didn't think that I could live with that decision. I kind of just felt like bringing a baby into the world is going to bring a lot more love into my life, while if I went through with the abortion or whatever, that it would bring a lot more hate into my life, and that's just not what I wanted. Like I felt like I knew it was going to be hard, but I really just kind of felt like I was strong enough to get through it. But dealing with him, I mean, we were both young, like we're both young, and we're both in college. Neither one of us have our degree. Like we're literally in the last year of college, and he plays basketball. Like I said, we just made our 5-year plan and stuff. So it was just kind of like, we both kind of felt like our lives were over, and we didn't deal with it in the best way possible. Like I was still upset that I was pregnant, but then like he was upset that I was pregnant, and then instead of us like working together as a team, we kind of really just worked against each other, which caused a lot of stress, to say the least. And then, so after lots of back and forth about like what we were going to do in regards to the baby, we ended up deciding, like, okay, I told him I'm 100% sure, like I'm keeping it, or keeping the baby. There's no question, like that's what I'm doing. And then so I decided that, and it was like, it took like, you know, a couple days, and then literally the day that we decided, I ended up having a lot of bleeding, and ended up going to the hospital. And at the hospital, we sat there forever. We were there till like 4 a.m. 4 or 5, and it was like a weekend, so it was a Friday night, and I just had a lot of bleeding. So we went to the hospital, and they told me I was basically having an inevitable miscarriage, which means that like there was no question in the doctor's mind that I was going to miscarry, and basically the only thing that I could do was wait it out. And it was just really like, what? Like we both like had finally come back together. We were like you know, on good terms. We, you know, things had settled down. We decided we were keeping the baby, and we were just like, cool. And then they told me I'm having a miscarriage. So I didn't really know how I felt about it. Like I was just kind of like, it kind of felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulder, but then it felt like the world was over again, because I was just like, that's my baby, like my little tadpole is gone, like I'm gonna lose it after all of this stress for the last week. Like, and like, you know, I started getting excited and stuff about having a baby, so I was just like, now my baby, I'm not gonna have a baby, like what? So we get home, and like that whole weekend I ended up like calling out of work, and I just rested all weekend, and I was just like in complete denial that I was having a miscarriage. I was like, I'm not having a miscarriage, like this is wrong, that lady's wrong, I don't even remember what she said. And he was just kind of like, you know, everything happens for a reason, like we weren't ready for a baby, maybe it was just testing our relationship, whatever, etc. So I was trying to like just deal with it, and we had already told, like he had already told his parents I was pregnant. I told my mom I was pregnant. So we had to go back and tell our parents like, okay, she's not having a baby. So everybody was just kind of like, okay, cool, like things are clear, you guys, okay, whew, calm down, right? Then, so I had so then I didn't believe that I was having a miscarriage, so I scheduled another doctor's appointment for that Monday, because I was just like, I'm not having a miscarriage, like I don't believe these doctors at all. Like, this isn't happening to me. Like, I didn't just do all this. And then, so I go to the doctor's appointment on Monday, and that doctor also tells me that I'm having a miscarriage, an inevitable miscarriage as well. And he's just like, you know, only thing you can do is wait it out, come back in 2 weeks. And he was just like, in 2 weeks, if you guys want, you guys can try to have another baby. Like, that's how sure he was that like I was not going to like my baby wasn't going to stay. Like, I was miscarrying. So we both were just like, well, this baby wasn't really planned, so I don't think we're gonna be trying for another baby in 2 weeks, but thanks, you know, whatever. And like, he even offered me drugs and stuff, like pain medicine, to like, because they were so sure that I was having a miscarriage, but I was like, no, I don't want to take the pain medicine or whatever. And so like, I just kind of like, through the miscarriage too, like, I guess it was just a lot for both of us again. So we were not really there for each other, and it was around Christmas time, and it was kind of depressing because I was so excited to tell my like little brothers and sisters, like on Christmas, my mom had started planning like how we were going to tell them and stuff, and him and I were spending Christmas apart, and it was just kind of like really stressful, because I felt really alone, because I mean, he wasn't being that supportive, his family wasn't being that supportive, and my family was being supportive, but there was only so much they could do, and it was just like, no one really knew what to say. I guess I wouldn't say like, it was just awkward. It was just an awkward time. So we do that, and then I come back and they have me schedule out another appointment for like 2 weeks later, after they told me I was having a miscarriage, just to make sure that like the baby naturally aborted itself, and that like I wouldn't need a DNC, or I wouldn't need any medication to like help like my body continue to abort the baby or miscarry the baby or whatever. So I go to the doctor, and like I ended up going by myself because like we weren't really on the best of terms again, because we were just you know, going through it. So I go to the doctor by myself, and I was expecting like them to be like, oh, like you don't, like you're not pregnant, and I was just like had this big day planned. I had just found out that I got approved to study abroad in Australia. So I was really lit. Like, I was just like, okay, well, everything does happen for a reason. Like, I wasn't ready to have a baby. I got approved to study abroad. Like, I'm just excited. I'm gonna spend the day enjoying my time and whatever. Like, okay. So I go to the doctor, and they're just like, ultrasound, like I'm just expecting to see nothing. The doctor's like, oh, look at your little nugget. And I was just like, what little nugget are you talking about? And she was just like, oh, look at your baby. Like, she, like, well, they didn't know it was a she, but they're like, it's really healthy and like whatever. And I was just like, dude, they told me I was having a miscarriage. Like, this doctor's appointment is to say that like I'm not pregnant and I don't need anything wrong. And she was just like, oh, well, let me look into this. So she sat there for like 30 minutes like looking into my uterus and everything, and was just like, yeah, I see where the bleeding was, but the bleeding's not affecting the baby, and your baby's like actually really healthy, and you can't see like you would never suspect that you were ever told that you were having a miscarriage. And I'm just sitting there like, what? So like, this is like a whole nother roller coaster of like, what in the world, right? So like, luckily my doctor's office sends like the ultrasound stuff to your phone. So I ended up sending like the video to my mom and my child's father, and I was just like, Houston, we have a problem. And they both were just like, what in the world? And in the meantime too, like over the 2 weeks, but when they told me I was having a miscarriage, like I never told my dad I was pregnant. I told him I was having I had a miscarriage, and he was just kind of like, oh, like I'm sorry, like blah blah blah, like, you know, giving dad talks or whatever, like you guys just need to use protection, blah blah blah. And then when I found out again that I was like still carrying, the baby was healthy, my child's father and I again had the discussions about like, okay, now this time, are we going to keep the baby, or are we like going to like go with a second option or whatever? And we both agreed like not to tell our family or get our families involved again, because we both feel like it made it really stressful the first time. Just like letting them know, because it was just like they were in our ears, like each other, and then like just, yeah, it was just a lot to take in. And so I didn't tell my dad until I decided again that like I was for sure like 100% like I don't want an abortion. I want to keep my baby. And when I did that, like overall it was just like it was just really stressful. Like I was excited to be a mom, and I feel like it's taken me a while to really like for it to sink in. And I feel like there's definitely still some days, a lot of days, where I'm just like, I'm about to be a mom. Like it still feels really unreal. And a lot of people ask me all the time, like, why didn't you abort the baby, like if you knew you and him weren't going to be on good terms or whatever. And like no one, like my mom says it all the time, like no one ever asked to be a single mom, no one ever asked to be in this situation. I kind of had a feeling from the beginning, like I was kind of told from the beginning, like, well, if you keep the baby, like you're gonna be in this on your own. But I didn't feel like I should base like me having a child off of like whether or not like what someone else is gonna do or not gonna do, because I just felt like that wasn't right. And I felt like after like being told I was gonna have a miscarriage twice and the baby is still here, like the baby is obviously meant to be here. Like I'm obviously meant to be a mom. Like there's no question in my mind that like the universe sent me a baby for no reason. Like I just feel like I was sent my child for a really great reason, and she's definitely going to be like amazing. And I feel like I'm really excited to be a mom. It's definitely still like really unreal. I felt really embarrassed at first, like really embarrassed. I waited quite a while to tell people, and I just kind of felt like I just didn't want to be that girl like who got pregnant like and was a single mom. And like, you know, it was just really embarrassing, and it still kind of is embarrassing. Like I luckily haven't, like, well, not luckily, like it kind of felt like everybody disappeared, but like whenever I'm in like public settings around people that like I actually know, I would still get kind of like self-conscious about it, and I feel like people are just like judging me in my situation. But at the same time, I'm trying to remain like completely transparent about my situation, just because again I felt really alone. So I just really wanted to like, I really want to provide like other girls, like, you know, if you're in a similar situation, like you're not alone. Like don't feel bad, because social media definitely has this way of like making it seem like everybody has this perfect happy pregnancy. I feel like my pregnancy definitely has been an uphill battle. I felt like when I first found out, like I said, I felt like my life was over and I had no idea what to do. I was I'm going through a breakup while pregnant, and already being emotional, and like already being pregnant makes you emotional, and then like going through like a heartbreak and finding out that like someone that you expected to be there for you wasn't going to be is really hard. And I'm like, it still makes me upset to this day. And just like, you know, you have these goals and hopes of like having like the perfect family and having like, I'm crying. You have these goals and hopes of like having the perfect family, and like, you know, you want that for your kids. And especially being that I didn't come from that. Like, I mean, my parents were both there in my life, but they were never together. Like but I'm blessed that I have 3 sets of parents, and through my pregnancy, my family has been super supportive of everything and have been here for me. And then even I've had people disappear since I've been pregnant a lot too. I felt like, but it's definitely opened the door to have even more like amazing people come in and support me, and everybody's just really excited for my baby now, and it makes me feel really good. Like despite the situation and the things that happened in the beginning, my baby's healthy and she's happy, she's growing, and I have an amazing support system, and I couldn't be more grateful. It's not the timing that I expected it to be, and it's not really what I expected it to be, but I've learned you just kind of have to let things be, and everything really happens for a reason. I don't know why I'm crying. Like it was just really emotional. But it's all still like really surreal. Like I feel like I know I'm being a mom, and I'm happy to be a mom, and I'm excited, but there are still times where I feel like really embarrassed, because like, you know, I just like, people just never expected it, and I got told that a lot. I still get told that a lot. Like oh, I never expected you to get pregnant, or I never expected you to have a baby, much less be in a situation where you're going to be a single mother. Like it just is like really, it's just, I don't know, it's just really weird. I just had higher expectations for myself, so I was feeling really disappointed in myself at first, and I felt like I had disappointed my family a lot at first, and I was just like, I kind of just felt like a failure, and it was just, it took a lot for me to get to this point where I can, but overall my camera just cut off, which is probably good. But yeah, so overall I'm excited. Finding out I was pregnant was definitely an experience. Being pregnant has been an experience, but such an amazing one. I definitely look forward to her being here and being a mom and getting to do all like the fun stuff, because I definitely feel like I'm going to get to be a little kid again, so it's definitely exciting. So yeah, so to anyone out there like that's going through this, and if you watch this video, just know that like you're not alone, and even if you do feel alone, like you still have your baby's there. And that's one thing that I had to remind myself, that like no matter how alone I felt, like I have somebody else's heart beating inside of me, and it's like the most magical feeling in the world. And I wouldn't change any of this experience for, like, I wouldn't change it, because I've learned a lot about myself throughout the experience, and I learned a lot about other people, and it's just been a year of growth for me, really, this pregnancy has, because Lord knows this time last year, like what I was doing, like I really realized I was on the road to like self-destruction, and while finding out was definitely scary and I felt like my life was over, I'm now like realizing I'm closing like a chapter of my life, and I'm opening a new one, and it's just like I'm beginning this an entire new journey, and I can't, like I'm nothing less than grateful, and there really aren't enough words to like express my gratitude about it all. So with that being said, I don't know, make sure you follow me on social medias, I guess, if you care to keep up with my journey. I have a blog, and I'll link everything down below. You can read all of that to keep up with me and my new baby and my journey through motherhood. So yeah, bye guys.